shillings 74,789,224 is also being dispersed. Agricultural Cluster Development Project, SCDP. This has greatly improved production and productivity of agricultural produce at household level, value addition and group marketing, hence improved household income. The Presidential Initiative on Skilling Uganda. Your Excellency, awotandikirawo amatendekero abavubuka okubawa ekyokukola nga bafunye obukugu mirimu egy'enjawulo gye bayita ebyemikono naye nze gyempita ate ebyemitwe. Masaka Industrial Hub, Central Region, so far twakowerezaayo abaana 23 abawala n'abalenzi. Group eyokubiri y'abaana 25 abagenzeeyo era abali kati mu training mu courses zino eziri welding, tailoring, hairdressing and carpentry. And bakery, among other programs. We are also very grateful for this initiative for the youth. Works and technical services. With support from the central government, Your Excellency, through Uganda Road Fund and the Transport Rehabilitation Development Grant, 1 billion shillings was given to the district. And the district has identified roads in bad conditions, which are now being rehabilitated, including Kifamba Chibale Chalulangira, 28 kilometers, Ramagwa BST Rekaba Fumbira, 17 kilometers, Kagamba Bale Rentlege, 21 kilometers, Chibale Chiziba Tatamiche, 21 kilometers, and others. Though we are experiencing a lot of rains, the road network will improve soon. I thank you, Your Excellency, in this regard.
Chairman,
also
conclude.
Underwater, Buyamba piped water supply system, Rwanda piped water system, we are fully completed and are being extended to some parts of Dwaniro and Rwanda sub-counties, so that clean water and safe water, of course, will be accessed by our people. Also, Your Excellency, Kibale Kifamba Water Project, funded by Africa Development Bank, is waiting for presidential approval. It is under the Ministry of Water, Southwest Mbarara branch. It is waiting your approval, Your Excellency, for it to take off. Your Excellency, regarding hydroelectric power supply, the district has benefited from the ongoing rural electrification program by the NRM government, and this has facilitated agro-processing, especially in the maize and coffee value chains, growth of small-scale industries such as welding and carpentry, saloons which provide employment to the youths. Ekintu kino kyetaaga nkiddemu mu lulimi olwaffe
ng'owumba chairman obudde.
Amasannyalaze gatuyambye nnyo okuteekawo small scale industries naddala ez'abafubuka. Education and sports sector. The NRM government has constructed the 40 secondary schools and primary schools in the district, which has improved the school learning environment. These schools include Kalibala Kamya Memorial City School in Ramagwa sub-county, Kachera City School in Kachera sub-county, Kifamba Secondary School, Kifamba sub-county, Kiziba City School in Mweruka Town Council, Kibale Secondary School in Kibale Town Council, St. Bernard's Manya SS, Kifamba sub-county, and Chabiwa Primary School. Your Excellency, all this has been achieved with support from the NRM government, and of course we have been having partners who have been helping us, Cotton Foundation and World Vision and other partners to achieve this objective. Under the health sector, Your Excellency, a number of achievements have been registered. They include some of the following: Health Center 2 to Health Center 3 in Kiziba Sub-County, now Mweruka Town Council. Chifamba Health Center 3 in Chifamba Sub-County, Chibanda Health Center 3, Chibanda Sub-County, and at Chibanda Health Center 2 in Chibanda Town Council, construction of maternity ward at Chimuli Health Center 3. Also with support from Bama, we constructed a maternity ward at Ramagwa Health Center 3 in Ramagwa Town Council. Challenges, Your Excellency. Not only has Rakai District supported you, but still supports you. And in the recent elections, NRM won almost 90% of all the district political leadership positions, from villages to district, including members of parliament, all NRM. Your Excellency, I wish to remind you of our constant request to help us tarmac the road from Lyantonde, Rwamagwa, Lumbugu to Rakai district, and subsequently from Rakai to Ntantamukini single district. This road, if tarmacked, will greatly help to improve the social economic lives of the people of Rakai. Also request Your Excellency that Rakai Hospital be upgraded to a referral hospital due to the big catchment area and the increased population being served by the facility. Under the fisheries sector, a dangerous weed has been sighted on Lake Kijanebarora and Lake Kachera, referred to as Kariba weed and water hyacinth. Almost 43% of the lake has been covered, making fishing activities difficult, and this has greatly affected food security and household income of our people. We request for your intervention as Sabarwanyi. I also wish to request for the vehicle to enable me to move to monitor district activities and to mobilize our communities. Your Excellency, kankubulira mu kino mukama wange, Your Excellency. Emmotoka gye ndimu yali ekutta omuliro. Nawonera ku lugwanyu. Singa nali sitegekeddwa kubeera kada 6 kyankwazi. Nandibadde kati yempewo ekazi engoyi. Your Excellency, nkusaba onziruukirire. NRM juu zaidi. Your Excellency, I wish to end my speech. The copy of my speech is your protocol staff. I thank you for God and my country.
Banaraka Engaloza Chairman, Mumuengalo. Thank you very much, Chairman. I want to request the next speakers, please be mindful of time, be mindful of the weather, and be mindful that our principal has many other activities, and we would like to make sure we get all the time he has with us for his statement on this very special day, on this World AIDS Day. So I want to request Ms. Rashida Nabweteme to come very quickly. I will also request the Director General of the Uganda AIDS Commission, Dr. Nelson, to get closer to Ms. Rashida. And thereafter, I will also request Mr. Robert Kagwa Semuyingo to get closer to that microphone so that all the three statements are made in the shortest time possible. Your Excellency, Ms. Rashida Nabweteme is speaking on behalf of the young people, and she will be speaking of the resolutions from the National Youth Conference on HIV and AIDS, adolescents and young people. Ms. Rashida.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, the President of Uganda, the Vice President, the Honorable Ministers, the invited guests, thank you for coming. My name is Nabweteme Rashida, standing in for the adolescent and young people. I am a young people living with HIV and born with HIV. Your Excellency, here is my presentation on behalf of the young people. Aid memo for the adolescents and young people during the commemoration of the World AIDS Day 2023 at Rakai District Local Government on 1st December 2023. Your Excellency, Uganda is joining the rest of the world to commemorate World AIDS Day, this day of 1st December 2023. As part of this commemoration, the Ministry of Health in collaboration with partners, organized a pre-World AIDS Day conference for adolescents and young people with an objective of capturing the voices of all adolescents and young people regarding how they can contribute meaningful to HIV/AIDS response at community level under the theme, Let Community Lead. With the adolescents and young people continue to bear the burden of challenges including but not limited to stigma and discrimination, gender-based violence, child marriage, teenage pregnancy, and unpaid care work responsibilities. Your Excellence, we also have limited access to HIV prevention information and education. These challenges have continuously increased the risk of HIV infection among us, the adolescents and young people, which possesses a big risk to our country given our demographic structures in this country. Your Excellence, we would like to thank the government through Ministry of Health and its partners for implemented tailored programs and interventions that have continuously lessened the impact of HIV among the adolescent girls and young women and young people, like the Young People and Adolescent Peer Supporters Model, the YAPS, Adolescent Girls and Young Women Program, among others. Your Excellence, as we take the final mile to end AIDS as a public health threat, we the young people ought to lead implementation of the HIV response. Adolescents and young people held a pre-World AIDS Day conference led by Ministry of Health with support with partners, and adolescents and young people made some resolutions, Your Excellence. We the young people do ask the government, development partners, implementing partners, civil society organizations, cultural and religious leaders to consider adolescent girls, young women and boys resolutions. Your Excellence, linking and inclusion with special emphasis networks of adolescent girls and young women and young people affected and living with HIV to government wealth creation projects like the parish development model and policies and budgets to curb adolescent girls and young women economic and education exclusion. Your Excellence, keep adolescent girls and young women in school to scale implementation of prevention interventions among adolescents and young people, including adolescent girls and young women, provide supportive legal and policy environments for uptake of prevention-related services, eliminate all forms of violence, including sexual gender-based violence, and put in place stringent laws to curb gender-based violence that exposes young people and especially girls to new HIV infections, early marriages, and teenage pregnancy. Eliminate all forms of stigma and discrimination faced by young people in various subpopulations. Eliminate all forms of social, cultural, and economic barriers to access to information and access to available services for young people. Provide adequate support towards implementation of sexuality education for in and out of school AYPs, adolescents and young people. Integrate HIV in sexual reproductive health with disabilities and other programs. Inclusion of young people with disabilities, for example, the blind and the deaf, in all programming. Meaningful engage young people in all spheres of program implementations. Your Excellence, addressing the existing inequalities in accessing quality education and health through making services affordable and easily accessible by all young people. Adolescent girls and young women urge government to facilitate choice in HIV prevention through accelerating the introduction and availability of recently researched and proven biomedical interventions. Your Excellence, With the young people, we resolve improve psychosocial support counseling through supporting the recruitment of peer-led counselors by the Ministry of Health. Government should consistently facilitate adolescent youth-friendly human resources and infrastructures at different levels of service delivery, for example, schools, healthy facilities, community, judiciary. Facilitating a multi-sectoral approach in HIV response through engaging key stakeholders like religious leaders, cultural leaders, local councils, and service providers in ending inequalities among adolescent girls and young women and boys. Intensify and strengthen male involvement strategies and interventions in the HIV response, particularly targeted toward engaging young men and boys. Strengthening follow-up and retention for children and adolescents living with HIV if we are to achieve the 39.5 as a country. We, Your Excellency, we the adolescents and young people of this great nation commit to continue contributing to the country's HIV response by fighting both self and social stigma and strengthening peer-to-peer engagements. Your Excellency, we will also influence our fellow peers positively to take charge of their lives by abstaining, regularly testing, and using condoms. Your Excellency, thank you for this great moment. I meant Nawateme Rashida, the YAPS National Trainer, Minister of Health, the YAPS Coordinator, and the Makeo Water Read Project, Mukono District, a young person living with HIV, ready to fight stigma and end HIV by 2030. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Ms. Rashida Nabweteme. We want to thank you, Ms. Rashida, and now invite the Director General, Uganda AIDS Commission, Dr. Nelson Musoba, to make his statement and give us a progress on the Presidential Fast Track Initiative on ending AIDS as a public health threat in Uganda by 2030. Dr. Nelson.
Your Excellency, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Honorable Ministers, the representative of the UN Resident Coordinator, ambassadors and heads of missions, members of Parliament, representatives of development partners, religious leaders and cultural leaders, local government leaders, representatives of people living with HIV, all of you invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed President and invited guests, today we gather here to commemorate the World AIDS Day. We stand united in reflection, recognition, and resolve. The national theme is ending AIDS by 2030, communities at the center. It's a great honor, Your Excellency, to address you and the entire nation of Uganda on this significant occasion, marking a day of national and global solidarity in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Your Excellency, firstly, I would like to acknowledge the pivotal role of your leadership in successfully shaping Uganda's national response to the epidemic. Uganda has been a trailblazer in implementing successful prevention and awareness programs, which has served as a model for other nations. The government's commitment, the collaboration with donors has resulted into providing accessible and affordable antiretroviral treatment that has undoubtedly saved countless lives and demonstrated Uganda's dedication to the health and well-being of its citizens. Your Excellency, I'm now going to share progress made, just highlights of progress made over the last 12 months since we reported to you on the implementation of HIV and AIDS prevention strategies 1 year ago in Rukunjiri. On the 95, Your Excellency, which are the agreed UNAIDS targets to be met by 2025, what it means that 95% of people with HIV test and know their status, and 95 of those who are positive are enrolled on treatment, and 95 of those who start on treatment take their medication as they should to achieve viral suppression. On this indicator, Your Excellency, we are at 90, 94, 94. But Your Excellency, this target is by 2025. When we reported to you in Rukunjiri, we were at 89, 82, and 78. We had just come out of COVID. So it also points to the impact of COVID on us. So I trust that on this target, Your Excellency, the one remaining year, we shall come very close to achieving it, the 95, 95, 95 by 2025. Your Excellency, the other indicator that I would like to report progress on is new HIV infections. Your Excellency, by the end of December 2022, we usually, working with the data from Ministry of Health, we look at data for 1 year. We recorded 52,000 new infections. A slight reduction from, again, what we reported to you in Rukunjiri. In Rukunjiri, we told you that we had recorded 54,000 in the previous year. So we reduced by 2,000. We can do better because, as you've told us, we shouldn't have new infections at all. That is the target by 2030. So 52,000 is not good performance. But the other factor, Your Excellency, that the young person has been talking about, who just spoke before me, is that 35% of the 52,000 new infections are amongst young people, the unmarried ones, the adolescents, between the age of 15 and 24. It's largely, there are three main factors. It's a question of information, they don't have enough information, and a question of disparity in income. A number of them, you know, because of challenges, they are either being lured in early sexual activities when they shouldn't, and they get tempted to that. But Your Excellency, when we look at the last period of 10 years, this reduction has been 40%. Our target was 75% reduction in new HIV infections. We haven't achieved that, but we have a 40% reduction. The third indicator, and this may be the last around progress, and then I'll refer to the report, Your Excellency, is AIDS-related deaths. We track when people die, what have they died in relation to. Last year we told you we had a total of 17,000 deaths related to AIDS, and this year we found the same figure. But let me say something, Your Excellency, about this. We are looking at the data working with the Ministry of Health. We think that, like Dr. Watite has just spoken, because people living with HIV are on treatment, they are living normal lives, it's likely that most of these deaths are deaths that are affecting the rest of the general population. So most likely they are dying of, you know, diabetes, they are dying of cancer, because he's 70 and he's exposed to other risk factors. So we need to analyze, although we are saying these are AIDS-related deaths, we will work with our colleagues in UNAIDS and partners and say, so 17,000, no reduction. We seem to be at the same place, but it's not, some of them, yes, if you delay taking your treatment and you get opportunistic infections, those classically fit in the description of AIDS-related deaths. Your Excellency, the rest of the data is in the report that we've prepared, and one of the key areas that I would like to point to again is HIV prevalence by district. We've tried to analyze that for every district and also ART coverage, and we've shared both with yourself, but especially with leaders. But like you guided, we don't want the numbers to excite us, because you may have a prevalence of 1%, but if we don't address the question of new infections, that can go high, Your Excellency. Following your last guidance in Rukunjiri about confusing messages, the Uganda AIDS Commission, working with the National Message Clearing Committee, reviewed and revised the messages, and the Minister for Presidency has issued guidance at both national and local level, Your Excellency. And the leaders are using this. We are especially working with RDCs to make sure that these messages are put out and our people continue to be educated. The emphasis on education and awareness campaigns has contributed significantly to changing society attitudes, reducing stigma, encouraging people to speak out, as we've just seen today, and seek treatment. Uganda has become a beacon of hope in the global fight against HIV and AIDS, showcasing that with determination, collective effort, it is possible to make substantial strides even in the face of formidable challenges. Your Excellency, allow me to acknowledge efforts, beginning with Mama Janet Museveni, the First Lady and also Minister of Education. She's also gone out of her way, and currently she carries out regional campaigns focusing on young people, especially young people in schools, about abstinence and ensuring that, they avoid sex risk behaviors. And as you will see, we have been partnering her and moving around, and we would like to request, in fact, we have lots of requests from the region saying, please come to our region, and we are looking at the resource envelope to see if we can expand this program and make it even bigger. Your Excellency, allow me also to extend my deepest appreciation to the Honorable Minister for Presidency, Honorable Babidi Emile Babalanda, who oversees directly the Uganda AIDS Commission. Thank you. She has provided unwavering support, together with her colleagues in Cabinet and Parliament, and which has been very crucial for us to steer this in the right direction. She has shown us commitment and her leadership, and we appreciate her that provides this continuity. Your Excellency, I also want to recognize the dedicated team at the Office of the President, led by Haji Yunus Kakande, our Permanent Secretary. The coordination efforts across government departments and agencies have been fundamental, and what Haji Kakande has done is to successfully link us to all permanent secretaries through the head of service, which has ensured that critical cross-cutting issues are taken off by the ministries, departments, and agencies. We now have guidance issued by Minister of Finance that every government department has to make HIV and AIDS part of their core planning and allocate resources to that. And I would like to acknowledge the Office of the President for that. Your Excellency, I also recognize the frontline warriors, the civil society organizations, and brave individuals like Watiti and the young person who has been speaking here, who are the face of the epidemic. Their resilience, their advocacy, their dedication to the cause has been instrumental in shaping public perceptions, reducing stigma, and driving community engagement. And I would like, Your Excellency, before you to reassure them that together we stand united with those who face daily challenges of HIV as we draw inspiration from their strength. Your Excellency, allow me also to extend our gratitude to the UNAIDS Country Office. We have a remarkable representative in the name of Miss Jacqueline Makoha. Miss Makoha leads a great team. Our sister from Kenya, she plays a crucial role. They are the Secretariat for Donor Coordination, ensuring that the needed resources are made available, harnessed, and utilized. However, Your Excellency, as I say this, as we acknowledge our achievements, we must also confront some persistent challenges that lie ahead of us. For example, what you've been talking about, the availability and effectiveness of drugs, appears to also create a complacence culture amongst some groups. So despite this progress, HIV appears to still pose a threat. There is stigma and discrimination. There are efforts that hindering reaching some of the population groups and the youth in particular, but we are continuing to make efforts. In conclusion, Your Excellency, I would like us to use this occasion to reaffirm our commitment to a future free of the burden of AIDS. Your Excellency, as you've always told us, let us remember the fight against HIV and AIDS is not a medical battle. It's a collective effort that requires engagement of every citizen. There's therefore need for support, for the political support, religious support, other societal leaders to continue to increase awareness, prevention messaging in an unrelenting manner. Your Excellency, your leadership has been instrumental to these successes so far, and we are looking forward to your continued guidance as we navigate the last miles. I say all this for God and my country. Your Excellency, one last request. My team requested me that they would like to have a photo opportunity with you. So if you grant that, I don't know at this point or later, yeah, His Excellency is guiding that let it be after the function. I thank you, Your Excellency.
Dr. Nelson, I have included it in the photos. Don't worry, you're safe. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we appreciate Dr. Nelson Musova? Give him a round of applause. We want to thank you for the scorecard, Dr. Nelson. Clearly, we've made some milestones, and we appreciate the work of the Uganda AIDS Commission, but there is still work to be done, and we want to appreciate your team for the job well done, and we will continue to support you in these efforts. Your Excellency, we now want to listen to the community, a testimony from a graduated member of the child-headed household, Mr. Robert Kagwa. Robert, if you could make it to the microphone. Robert Kagwa Semuyindo, if you can make it to the microphone. I had seen him initially. He was one of our very first delegates here this morning. Robert, Your Excellency, is a member of a child-headed household and has graduated from that group of people, and this is where he's at this moment. Robert.
Tata President, tukwaniriza abagenyi baffe abakulu bonna tubaniriza mu district ya Feyelakai. Amanya nze Semingo Robert Kagwa. Nzaliwa ku kyalo Kasabukengere mu Ggombole n'ebyakabanda naye nga mpangalira mu tawuni Elakai nga nsangibwa ku ddwaliro Elakai. Nze nazaalibwa n'obulwadde, nazaalibwa n'akawuka akaleta siriimu. Nze era wentukidde okuyimira wano nyina emyaka kati mpezezza 3 naye simanyi muzadde wange yenna bwafaanana. Nakula n'abaŋŋanda n'abagadians bwe batyo abantu bangi abandeze. Taata mize eddagala ly'akawuka kano okumala emyaka 20. Emyaka 10 egyasooka nali muto byali wamu nga tebannamanya. Naye ne bankebera ne banzuula nti nyina akawuka. Byali si byangu mu community batwalananga nga bakuvuma naye nga tolina musango. Naye nensalawo kaŋŋume kammira eddagala mu masomero nga tujeregebwa. Ne taata okuva linatandika okumira eddagala nentambula n'abasawo tukwebaza okubanga okoze kyamaanyi nnyo mu kulwanyisa akawuka ka siriimu mu ggwanga. Era taata nyongera okwebaza ekitongole ekya Uganda Cares, AHF Uganda Cares kikoze kyamaanyi kindabiridde okuva mu buto kinjijajabye okuva mu buto mpaka nakati ne kimpa n'omulimo. Mbeebaza nnyo era bakama baffe we bali wano Country Program Director waali ne RMD Dr. Cecilia Guleta Masaka we bali Uganda Cares yonna weeri wano. Taata nyongera okukubiriza abavubuka abantu bonna bagende beekebeze. Nze obulwadde nazaalibwa nabwo saabunoonya era nakitwala ne ŋŋamba bukome ku nze. Teri muwala yenna ali avuddeyo agambe nti Kagwa yansiiga obulwadde era tagenda kuvaayo. Eddagala ndimira bulungi. Teri muntu agenda kugamba nti Kagwa yansiiza obulwadde. Mbakubiriza bagende beekebeza akawuka ka siriimu. Bwe bakusanga mwekali ng'okayina bambi guma si gwe osoose ate giri emirembe twagivaamu egy'emabega. Mira eddagala obeere mulamu okolerera abaana. Bwe bakusanga akawuka tokayina weekuumire ku munno. Togenda nga weejajamya nti ate bankebedde ndi mulamu kwonoonooza ono n'ono n'oli weekuume obeere mulamu nga tolina kawuka bw'oba nako mira eddagala lyo bulungi. Taata Pulezidenti, nyongera okwebaza abantu bano abanfudde kyendi okubanga nsobola okuyimira mu maaso ne mbaako kye mbuulira abavubuka ku bikwatagana n'akawuka ka siriimu. Naliko naawe ku World AIDS Day yali ku landing site wali e Kasensero, nali muto naye nga nawaka testimony. Nagenda nkuzibwa Madam Pulima abadde wano, former mayor Rakai Town Council, omu be banfominza okuba nga nsobola okuyimira n'enjogerako ku bintu ebikwatagana ne siriimu. Manager Laka, Mr. Kasozi Fred, Minister wa Kamuswaga nabo oyo muzadde wange bakozi kyamaanyi okubanga bamenta bange. Salongo Bikande owaawo awo ne Muze Mutyaba kyamaanyi. Taata nyina okusaba kwe njagala okutuusa eri gy'oli nga tulwanyisa akawuka ka siriimu okutuuka mu 23. Omuntu agenda n'afa ku nnyimbe si kyabuwaze naye kyeyagalire. Omuntu agenda n'afa nemanya afudde siriimu naye kulumbe tolina kyowulako message yonna gye boogerako ekwatagana ku siriimu. Naye nga nandisabye singa mba nfudde famire yange nga tekigikosa kugamba nti kagwa afudde kawuka ka siriimu, bakyogereko abantu bakipiikinge bamanye nti gundi afudde naye afudde siriimu. Abantu kyongere okubawaako ekyokuyiga. Abo bakyagala si kyabuwaze. Okwo kusaba kwange singa kiba kisobose. Taata Pulezidenti, tukwebaza okubanga otukoledde buli kimu otujjanjabya amalwaliro eddagala gye liri, eddagala ly'akawuka gye liri. Mbakubiriza abalwadde tumire bulungi eddagala tubeere bakozi. Ate emirembe gino waliwo eŋŋombe egamba nti kati abalwadde ba siriimu bakozi okusinga n'abalamu. Ekyo mbongera bakubiriza tubeere bakozi. Luli baali batya nina siriimu ngenda kufa naye kati bwe bakkebera gwe kolerera abaana. Era taata ntera okukulaba kuno kusaba kwange ng'ogaba gy'oyiteeyo ng'ogaba ente ezivaamu amateeza ennungi. Taata nga naawe muzzukulu wo azaaliddwa n'obulwadde nsobola okulabirira ente eyo. Taata osobola okumpa ente eyo nevaamu amata nempeera n'abaana bange. Nyinayo abaana abo babiri. Nyina emyaka 3 nagamba owaaye naafa sizaddeeko. Nyinayo abaana bange 2. Taata osobola okumpaayo akati nekalunda nekaweera abaana nekavaamu n'amata. Amannya nsigadde Semingo Robert Kaggwa. Nebaza nnyo ekitongole kya Uganda Cares, AHF Uganda Cares.
Webale nnyo Kaggwa. Bana engalo za Kaggwa mumwongere ku ngalo. Ndowooza message mugiwulidde Banarakai and the rest of Uganda. Your Excellency, this World AIDS Day celebration here in Rakai District, Chibale Playground is live on Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, Your Excellency, and the rest of the country that isn't here with us is watching live the proceedings from Rakai. Your Excellency, just before I invite our next speaker, I wanted to recognize the following persons for your attention, Your Excellency, who are here with us and joined us to celebrate this World AIDS Day. The Ambassador of Ethiopia to Uganda is here. We want to welcome her. Can we give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? We also have Her Excellency Latania Perez, the Ambassador of Cuba to Uganda. We want to welcome you, Your Excellency. We have the High Commissioner of Nigeria to Uganda, Your Excellency Abde Bowale. We want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Your Excellency, we also have His Royal Highness Paul Sande, the King of Iteso. We have the Right Honorable Haji Idi Chwanuka, the Prime Minister of Kochi. We have the Right Honorable Stephen Chiinji, the Prime Minister of Toro Kingdom. And of course, our very own from the community who was mentioned here, Your Excellency, and later will be introduced to you, Mr. Jeff Dyke, the Director, Chibale Community Center, who is here representing the communities and the organizations that work with people living with HIV. Your Excellency, I want to take the pleasure, and we know we are running out of time, and I want to request the following speakers be mindful of time as we try and squeeze in all the speeches within the scheduled time. I will invite on behalf of the UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Jackie Makoka, who is the Country Director of the UNAIDS, here representing the UN Resident Coordinator and all the AIDS development partners to come and make her address. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together for our dear partner, the UNAIDS?
Thank you very much. I do apologize for the time it has taken me to reach here. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Minister of the Presidency, Cabinet Ministers here today, Members of Parliament, government representatives, the district leadership, the board and leadership of the Uganda AIDS Commission, Your Excellencies, ambassadors and heads of mission, religious leaders, people living with HIV, members of civil society working in the HIV sector, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Please allow me to greet you kwa lugha ya Afrika Mashariki. Habari zenu, dada zangu na ndugu zangu. I'm reading this speech on behalf of the United Nations and the AIDS development partners. It is a great pleasure for me to be here at the World AIDS Day in Rakai. This particular district, Rakai, is important to the world and for us who work in HIV. It was the spotlight of the HIV disease in the early 1980s when the communities started describing a disease that was causing people to get slim and die. It is this action of the community in coming forward to report this strange disease that led the world to start addressing HIV. And so for me, as we celebrate the community, it is important that we came to Rakai. On behalf of the United Nations and AIDS development partners, I would like to thank the people of Rakai for their actions very early in the 1980s and the actions that they are taking now that have contributed in controlling the spread of HIV. Your Excellency, Uganda has demonstrated to the world what can happen when you combine strong political leadership, good science, solid health systems, and a good community response to address epidemics. Uganda did it for HIV in the 1980s and is still working on that. You did it for COVID-19 and recently for Ebola. These are remarkable achievements and must be celebrated. We are only left with 7 years to achieve our commitment to end AIDS as a public health threat. Many of us already know where efforts must be directed, but allow me to highlight what we think is very important in the next few years. We've heard from the Director General of the Uganda AIDS Commission that we had 52,000 new infections last year, and that the bulk of these infections are happening in young girls and adolescent women, 15 to 24 years of age. Your Excellency, these are girls mostly who have fallen out of school. It is a cycle. They fall out of school, then they become victims of gender-based violence, sexual harassment. They end up getting pregnant, early pregnancy, and then they get married, and they also end up repeating the cycle and infecting their children. Last year, Your Excellency, we had 6,000 new infections among young babies who were just born. The bulk of these babies were born to girls 15 to 19 years old. They were exposed to HIV during pregnancy or breastfeeding. Your Excellency, Uganda has the tools, we have the political will, we have the systems, and we can stop this. It is important to also note that only 45% of girls who leave primary school transition to secondary school. And this is where we start having the problem. So to achieve a lasting impact for these girls, we need to ensure that they are supported to transition to secondary school and to complete their education. Also, Your Excellency, the Uganda AIDS Commission has told us that we have achieved 94 against the UN AIDS targets. Unfortunately, it's not for everyone. We are not achieving these targets for men and for children, for young people. Men and young people are likely to know very late that they are HIV positive. They are likely to fall out of treatment, and they are more likely to die of AIDS as compared to women. So this achievement is not for everyone, and we need to ensure that it is for everyone. It is very notable that the Ministry of Health recently launched the National Plan to End AIDS in Children by 2030. This is a step in the right direction, and development partners have committed to support the ministry and the Uganda AIDS Commission to ensure that we reach this goal. This World AIDS is more than a celebration of the achievements of communities. It is a call to action to enable and support communities in their leadership roles. We would like to see communities that have been enabled and that are included in the core HIV plans and programs and in their formulation, budgeting, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Also, communities need to be fully and reliably funded to enable the required scale-up that we need to achieve the end of AIDS. Barriers to community leadership need to be removed and an enabling regulatory environment created to ensure that communities and civil society can reach those even far in the community and those who are in the margins of society. Today, communities all over the world are leading the World AIDS Day celebrations and are shaping the events and tailoring the detailed calls to their specific needs. Also today, the United Nations Secretary General has reminded all of us that AIDS is beatable. It's possible to beat. And I would like to end by quoting him. Let's finish the job by supporting communities to end this scourge in their neighborhoods, in their countries, and around the world. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the UNAIDS and the larger UN family who continue to support our efforts to end stigma and end HIV by 2030. Your Excellency, we are almost towards the end, and very shortly I will be inviting the Honorable Ministers to address you. And before that, I will also request that you allow us to recognize some key stakeholders who have supported the Uganda AIDS Commission in this journey, and that will be done before your address, Your Excellency. I want to now take the pleasure of inviting the Area Member of Parliament, the Member of Parliament for Kochi County, the Honorable Kasirabo Boaz, to come and address his people, but also welcome you to the constituency and give us a scorecard of the efforts within the community to end HIV.
Your Excellency, President wa Uganda, nsanyusa okulaba era nkwaniriza Kochi. Wano ewaffe tugamba nti Kamuswaga ayinde, naye ne Museveni ayinde nnyo. Weebale kutuddizaawo obwa Kamuswaga bwaffe. Amazima amatuufu, Your Excellency, ne bwe tunaayogera bingi bitya, abantu baagala kuwulira ddoboozi lyo. Kati sigenda kulandaga kwogera lulonda kambe, ngenda kuyita mu byangu otubuulire entanda. nategese speaki yange chairman LC1 najogera nengamba nandideko empanga ate chairman LC5 bwe yazze naye najitanya naye muzeeyi wali akantu kamu kenjagala okwogera ku speech ezo zombi lyekkubo lino eriva Rakai neriyita entantamuki nerigenda Isingiro okulikuba chorus. Muzeeyi buli wogenda bakusaba bingi era nze oli munkusaasira oba obijjukira oba bitya nze ntya n'okwogera ebingi naye amazima amatuufu gali nti eryo ekkubo lyokka lye njagala okwogerako ku lw'abantu abali wano singa onookitukolera ojja kuba ogasse Isingiro ku Rakai ate neeno mu Maserengeta ng'otaddeyo ekkubo erisobola okutuuka e Mutukula n'abava e Kasensero nga bakonekitinga wano bw'oba togenze Masaka n'oyita ku luno oluddugavu n'ogendera ddala mpaka Mbalala. Akakalukako kubanga obwedda twogera boogera wono bw'onootandika okwogera bw'oti teri ajja kwogera era nawe ojja kikiriza nti tukuwagira. Naddala twagala kwebaza mulira ab'emikwano twagala kwebaza Yoweri Kaguta Museveni President wa Uganda ye yaleese omukolo guno wano. Nkyogera sikirumamu amazima amatuufu abaseddekezi baade bagambye nti Rakai waliyo obulwadde ng'omukolo bagutwale simanya walala naye mbu bagamba nti President yakubye emmeeza n'agamba oba gye buli oba tebuliyo ngenda Rakai. Kati eyo enduulu temala leka tumwongere endala nti yeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyo tugenda kukuwagira nga twekuuma obulwadde obuleeta mukenenya. Tugenda kukuwagira nga tuteekamu amaanyi mu parish development model. Tugenda kukuwagira nga tuteekamu amaanyi mu sente z'emyoga ze watuwa tukole projekiti naawe ozirabeko. Ate tugenda kukuwagira ng'okomyewo 2026. Ninyenda kwanjurira omuzaire wanje John Kasirabo niwe tata obunyija kishozi okamumbuza aruho aine emyaka 88 kandi nawatuura nakumbuza yangira ngukunda abenduho nagamba mugambeho omurebe akuterere jambo mbwe nani mushabango ijaho akuterere jambo kandi mwebaze no kutureberera no kutwegesa okukunda no kwagira. Ekyo nkimaze ab'emikwano mu kiseera kino munzikirize enkome wano. Alo Your Excellency waliwo abantu bangi bampadde bwe bategedde nti ojja bampadde ebintu bingi. Abasinga obungi be baveterani abazirwanako nga yali ayina kyayamba naddala mu kiseera kye wabeerera mu nsiko. Nk'ekyokureeberaho akaaro omushira bakana mwetarwa akayitema akabalya omuheekera wa Bukanga. So akakora munonga kureeba ngu yakusyaho buyambi. Mbwenu bampereze baraha nyingi byona nabitomu nanishaba ngu sekuritara byakire tubaase kusitya obubaka bwa President abantu batakanye kwatsa ngu nabi byambira. Banaye munzikirize enkomaawo nange simala budde. Tusanyusa okulaba Your Excellency tukusuubiza bingi nga naawe bw'otuwa ebingi weebale nnyo weebalire ddala.
Your Excellency the President, I had requested and I was trying to avoid the protocol team coming after me, but I had requested the Honorable Kasirabo to request you, and I now want to request you, Your Excellency. There were about 14 entertainment groups that had prepared to entertain you. We only want to request for one, just one, to entertain you with your permission, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. nja kusaba subi muje bampadde obudakiika bubiri kati mugenda ku representing abali bonna abatagenda kutuyimbira mwebe basazeewo nti mutuyimbireko leero edakikezi
NRM oye, Yellow Checkers, Greater Masaka oye, Foot Soldier oye. Ye banyise subi mukele jaya tumalawo abaza mukele jaya tumalawo tweyase Museveni wati yabasebo Museveni wati yabasebo banga nyumba ku nyumba Museveni wati yabasebo etegala waleta lingi mu basi Museveni wati yabasebo abana bafanga basaliwa Museveni wati yabasebo tweyaze subi tweyaze Museveni wati yabasebo tweyaze subi tweyaze Museveni wati yabasebo tweyaze subi tweyaze Museveni wati yabasebo wadi mondele tweyagala notuletera sipale twesiba wadi vision amayumba neziba bwetwasiba enyawo notuwaraka emere negituwa Museveni wati yabasebo abetu twali tubinyo Museveni wati yabasebo kere banga nyumba ku nyumba Museveni wati yabasebo yatagala waleta lingi mu basi Museveni wati yabasebo abana bafanga basalibwa Museveni wati yabasebo Uganda KRC badokita mubakola omulimo abali ku ndiri bonna batambula mwebale abasawo mwebale mukele jaya yatubalawo abasawa mukele jaya yatubalawo kati tulinda wendo lakayi project jengaba abatawo bakoze omulimo baba nyumba ku nyumba babudabuda abantu awo ne batendeka subi mu byalo tubayambako abantu yetagala balimira mbote nerwataze tumulonya kyabera tweyaze musayi tweyaze Museveni wati yabasebo tweyaze musayi tweyaze Museveni wati yabasebo wamanya banja webale Museveni wati yabasebo minisita kasolo webale Museveni wati yabasebo sente zebyoga twazifuna Museveni wati yabasebo bindye mutulyedo tweyagala webale wasula webale bale mu peace nakwe mwebale Museveni wati yabasebo tinyabata masubi webale Museveni wati yabasebo nemupika siramu Museveni wati yabasebo jabira obulungi bwenjagala kisobaka Museveni wati yabasebo ayindeka muswaga waffe Museveni wati yabasebo ayindeka muswaga waffe mwebaza nnyo.
Banaraka Banaya Basubi Mbawengalo Mbawengalo Subi Group. Your Excellency, we will now listen from the Ministry of Health, who spearhead the efforts in the fight against HIV. I want to take the pleasure of inviting the Minister of State for Primary Health Care in the Ministry of Health, the Honorable Margaret Mohanga, to come and read her statement on behalf of the Ministry of Health on this World AIDS Day. Ladies and gentlemen, Bana Yengaloza, Minister of Health, Minister Mumweku Ugalo.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency, the Vice President, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, Heads of Diplomatic Missions, Development Partners, UN agencies, all the local leaders, protocol observed. I'm glad to be here on this day, the first day of December 2023, to commemorate the World AIDS Day. We get together with a profound sense of reflection and remembrance of those citizens of the world who have lost their lives to AIDS. We also stand in solidarity with those living and affected by AIDS. It is also a day when we look back at our achievements and determine to confront the challenges before us in the response to the HIV and AIDS epidemic in Uganda. We embrace this year's theme as Ministry of Health, let communities lead. It emphasizes the role of communities in the fight against AIDS and calls for collective action to empower and support communities in this leadership. It's in communities that diseases including HIV infections occur. But it's also in communities where, with appropriate message, disease occurred can be interrupted and prevented. Approximately 1.4 million adults and children are living with HIV in this country. Adults aged about 15 years and older account for 93% of this burden, with 60% of them being female. But working together, we have registered remarkable progress. The detailed numbers have already been given to you and shared by a lot of other speakers, so I will not delve into it. In the implementation of our programs, we continue to prioritize primary HIV prevention interventions. In 2023, we intensified social behavior change communication programs. Working with partners, we have utilized multiple media channels to reach to the public with HIV prevention, care and treatment messages. The key prevention methods have been explained, including our ABC plus D messages. As part of the World AIDS Day, the Ministry of Health implemented a number of pre-World AIDS commemoration activities, which the young girl here has already mentioned, and so I will not delve into that as well, due to time constraints. The prevention of mother-to-child HIV transmission remains a key priority for the Ministry of Health. In this program, we continue to focus on 4 critical prongs, which include primary HIV prevention among women of childbearing age and their partners, prevention of unwanted pregnancies among women living with HIV, HIV testing and enrollment of lifelong ART treatment for HIV-positive pregnant and breastfeeding women. And finally, care and support for women and their children and their partners. In 2023, HIV testing among pregnant and breastfeeding women remained about 95%, with ART enrollment among HIV-positive pregnant and breastfeeding women at 94%, and the viral load suppression of 92%, which is quite commendable progress. Among babies born to HIV-positive mothers, ART prophylaxis was initiated for 88% of the babies, and 81% of the babies received the first DNA PRC test within 2 months. We continue to strengthen programs and efforts to bring down this number to 0. Further strategies to end HIV among children were spelled out in the recently launched Global Alliance to End AIDS Among Children by 2030, with a focus towards elimination of mother-to-child transmission. Now, HIV care treatment program. As of September 2023, 93% of the people living with HIV knew their status, a crucial entry point for accessing care and treatment. In addition, 98% of adults living with HIV who were aware of their status were on antiretroviral therapy, which significantly improves their health and well-being. Additionally, 92.2% of adults on ART achieved the viral suppression. We estimate that 1.4 million out of 1.44 million people living with HIV are enrolled on treatment. This data indicate that with sustainable efforts, the country is on the steady path to achieve the UNAIDS targets of 95% of the people living with HIV, knowing their status, also at 95%, and enrolling for life-saving ART, also at 95% of those on ART, achieving viral suppression set for 2025. I'd like to express our heartfelt appreciation to our partners, including the United States government through PEPFAR, the Global Fund, the United Nations agencies like WHO, UNAIDS, UNICEF, UN Women, and UNFPA, and other bilateral and multilateral partners for their unwavering support to our programs. Thank you all for this dedication. We are eternally grateful to you, and together we shall achieve our goals of HIV-free Uganda. We appreciate the people of Uganda for supporting our health programs, and particularly our HIV prevention and interventions. We congratulate those who have stepped up to lead in the battle against HIV and AIDS in this country. I would also like to finally give my special appreciation to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for his remarkable leadership in the fight against HIV and AIDS. I want to thank everybody who has come here today. Thank you very much for your kind attention, for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Banaye aberakai, banarakai, ba Minister mubawanga kungalo. Musimeko Minister. Thank you very much, Honorable Margaret Muhanga. Your Excellency, we have several representatives of various institutions.
NBS Frontline.
I'm going to invoke the rule on the 15 sittings And I want you members to come to the House. Don't miss for the 15 sittings.
Even the Speaker could not take it anymore. A monologue of NRM legislators took place in Parliament this week. In fact, the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill was passed in the absence of the opposition MPs, and still the boycott drags on.
Unknown. We still stand by our earlier stance that even if the House is called tomorrow, we shall not be a part of it.
We have formalized even our boycott with the exchange of correspondences.
This is but a sampling of the incidents of the popularization and lack of tolerance that characterize both sides of the political arena. Elsewhere in the northern part of the country, the Balalo question has sparked sharp diversions between the locals and the herders.
The love for your culture, the love for your ethnic group is not tribalism.
The president's attempt to resolve the issue in a recent visit to the region left more questions than answers. With the nation at crossroads, is there any hope to find a common ground for the dialogues that hold Uganda at heart? Who has the moral authority to bring the country together? As the ugly chapters of the Ugandan story continue to unravel, is the country ready to wrestle the demons of her past? This is The Frontline. NBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of The Frontline. I'm Charles Mangushampagi, and tonight on The Frontline, we explore more about the question of pushing for national reconciliation. Is it even viable? How does it fit in what is going on? Parliament is sitting only one side of it. The opposition is still boycotting, now entering the third week, I think, more than 3 weeks of boycott, and they're receiving threats and warnings from the presiding officer that if you miss 15 consecutive sittings when Parliament is in session, then you risk losing your constituency. They're vowing they will not go back. If we look at what's happening in northern Uganda, the bitterness, the anger over the Balalo question, herdsmen that have settled on lands, communal lands in northern Uganda, and grazing their lands, grazing their cattle there, and to the discomfort of the crop farmers in that area. What is being talked about as land grab schemes in the northern part of the country, which is emerging out of, has emerged out of a bitter war that lasted over 2 decades. Is that a country that can talk about reconciliation? It's the country that can exorcise past demons when it's actually living with not scars, but fresh wounds. To discuss that with me, I have a panel. A few members will be joining us shortly, but let me start with introducing the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. He is a frontliner. He represents the people of Kira municipality on behalf of the Forum for Democratic Change. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, Charles.
I have the Honorable Joel Senyonyi. Many of you know him for his leadership of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, of COSASE.
Yes,
sorry.
the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes, Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, and he represents the people of Nakawa West constituency. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening to you and the viewers.
I have from Mulanda, from the Uganda Media Center, Executive Director and the frontliner, Ofono Opondo. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, Charles, and good evening to our viewers.
We're joined by a couple other panelists tonight to discuss this very important but also very tricky subject. Let me start with you, Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, and that's a simple question. We're talking, there are suggestions that are emerging. And the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs recently at an event organized by the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy, the launch of a new outfit. I hope that we would have the Honorable Beatrice Grasso joining us in the discussion, but she's out of the country. National reconciliation. Is Uganda ready for national reconciliation? Is it viable? at this state, at this point in time?
I think the only difference this time is that the call is made by a minister in government and using maybe a different name, but the call for a national dialogue has been on for many years now. And I don't think the content envisaged in the call by Honorable Norbert Mao is different from the content of those who are calling for a national dialogue. I would actually want to know, someone to help me understand whether in the context in which this call was made is different from the context in which those who are calling for a national dialogue have been making the calls. But there has been an attempt, at least at a political level, to aggregate the issues affecting Uganda's future and the politics, and then use the same voice. The very iPod they're talking about started under the guidance of the Netherlands Institute for Democracy. At one time, by the way, it had gone very far. I think in the 9th Parliament, when the political parties in Parliament, including the NRM, sponsored bills for electoral and administrative reforms collectively. They came to Parliament and handed over those bills to the Deputy Speaker of Parliament at that time, late Jacob Olanya. But at some stage, the person who was representing NRM, who was supposed to be representing NRM, the Honorable Mbabazi, disowned that process. Then people representing government to process bills on elections said there was no time to deal with them, and since then the time hasn't been found. The other issues that are troubling the country are issues that I don't think can be addressed by a political process, either by bills in Parliament. Maybe that's what fits in the call by the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I'll tell you, and I've said this many times, I hope I will not offend him. One time I had a discussion with the Honorable Amanyo Mshega. He had a meeting with President Museveni, and the President wanted to know from his friend what or why there was a problem in the country. And he summarized it this way, that the country thinks the West is benefiting more from your administration. The West think, the West means every part of the Western Uganda, including where you come from. They think
from Bunyoro
to every
to
part
Chigezi.
The West think, no, it is Ankole that is benefiting. When you go to Ankole, no, it is Wahima. When you go to Wahima, it is Museveni's family. And he said that is the problem. But there are also reports that have come up to suggest, I remember a report, was published in the Daily Monitor about the road infrastructure, how many roads had been done in Western Uganda vis-a-vis the rest of the country. The recent report by the Opportunity Commission about Western Uganda dominating. And later on Ankole dominating jobs in the public sector. It takes me back to the beginning of this administration, when people were choosing Banyankole of saying Twatere Mbundu Twafuna Obwogerero. We fought, and it's our turn. I want to translate it that way. So
it's our turn, or we got space to speak?
No, I want to say it is our turn.
Is space to speak.
No, I don't want to translate it the way you're translating it. The Honorable Kategaya read in one of the seminars for Forum for Parliamentary Forum Advocacy.
Parliamentary Advocacy Forum.
Yes, specifically in Mbarara. He pleaded with his friend to peacefully transfer power. And he said, whether perceived or real, people from the area where the president hails from will pay for what they may not even have done. And he gave the examples of Idi Amin, what happened when Idi Amin was removed. He then told us when Milton Obote was removed, people drove to Akokoro. They thought that Obote had developed his own area, only to pass by Akokoro, and they are told, but you have left it behind, because they didn't see anything different from the villages neighboring Akokoro. So I don't know what the Honorable Norbert Mao, the Minister for Justice, what motivated him to say so, and what he thinks should be the issues for reconciliation. Because at the beginning of Museveni's administration, there was a commission similar to what was that was in South Africa, at which people went and spoke.
The South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation
yes,
Commission of
we had one
the late
here.
Bishop Desmond
we had
Tutu.
One here. People spoke, and subsequently, the constitutional making process, I actually thought, and I still think, that at this stage, we actually need to implement, the Honorable Norbert Mao at one time was saying the Luwero consensus had collapsed, that we need to build a new consensus. I don't think we need a commission where people will go to say or to accuse each other. So the issues that are troubling Uganda are issues that can best be dealt with a political, meaningful, transparent political system, where those who are holding power and are using it to benefit mainly their family and friends and maybe a few tribesmen, a process that will allow them to transfer power peacefully. And then subsequently, each administration, like it has happened in other, may not solve all Uganda's problems, but it will seek to solve at least some problems.
Thank you. You've been referring to the Honorable Norbert Mao, and he's joined us in studio. Honorable Mao, very nice to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back on the front line after
Yes.
a very long time.
A very long time, and we're happy to have you back. The Honorable Norbert Mao is the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and has actually reignited the talk about a national reconciliation. Now, Honorable Mao, one is, I'd like to hear from you, what exactly is your idea? Number two, how different is it from other previous attempts? And I will just run through that briefly. You have 1985, after 4 years of war, the collapse of the Nairobi peace talks. And you have a coup in Kampala that leads to the fall of the Obote government, and the coup leaders, for that short period, engage in some peace talks in Nairobi, later turned out peace jokes. 1986, you have the NRM coming to power, creating the umbrella government, all-inclusive, bringing everybody on board. We have the making of the constitution. First, the expanding of the NRC, 1987. You have the making of a new constitution, the Constitutional Commission, and the birth of a new constitution in 1995. You turn to multi-party politics in 2006. Right now, when you're talking about national reconciliation, and I didn't even mention the Arthur Dare, Justice Arthur Dare Commission, that on human rights abuses in Uganda up to 1986. When you talk about national reconciliation, Honorable Semuju Nganda talks about national dialogue. What exactly is it that you're trying to advance, and why?
By the way, this debate should not be about me. Even if I were to drop dead tonight, Ugandans will still talk about national dialogue and reconciliation. So I start by advising those who are obsessed with Norbert Mao, for whatever reason, to really chill. It's not necessary to talk about me. Let's talk about Uganda. I am not the author of the idea of national dialogue. I'm just in a position where I may be able to contribute towards moving things. You know the principles of load, effort, and fulcrum in basic physics. You may have a fulcrum, you may even have a lever. Actually, there are four. You have a lever, the fulcrum, and the effort to move a load. So you need a place to stand. For whatever reason, I'm standing at a place where I can contribute towards moving things in a certain direction.
Of the four things, what are you?
I leave
are you a
that to
lever?
you.
Are you a fulcrum? Are you the load? Are you the effort?
Of course, the person who is moving is